Thais Carter, Editor-in-Chief for Dental Products Report magazine, and we are here live at the California Dental Association Scientific Session in Anaheim, California. And today we are at the Ultradent booth, and we're going to be talking with Mark Smith, who's a Senior Brand Manager for Restoratives, about the new VALO LED curing light. And the reason we're talking to them today is there are actually several LED curing lights that are being launched this month, and the question we have, Mark, is what sets VALO apart?
Let's start with the most obvious feature of VALO. It's the aluminum body here. It's very sleek, very aerodynamic. It's got a sapphire-like coating. That means that its dental tool cannot scratch it. It also means that composite has a very hard time sticking to it because it's got a Teflon coating on top of that. The design also lends itself well to access into the mouth, so we don't have offset and angulation issues that you have with gun-style curing wands. And this particular light is also different from the standpoint of the power density, so the amount of power that VALO is able to produce, we underdrive the LEDs by 25 to 50%. This means the wand body won't heat up excessively. It also means that we can hit those radiance levels, those power density levels, without maxing out the LED. That means that longevity-wise, it has a greater lifespan than most of the other competitors. On top of that, you're talking about the beam collimation, so the amount, how focused that beam is when it comes out. A lot of competing lights will disperse, and that means that the power that actually reaches the restoration site is greatly diminished.
Okay.
But beyond that, we're talking also about beam uniformity. So even though you can have superior collimation, it doesn't necessarily mean that that beam is uniform when it comes out. And that becomes problematic in that you can have hot spots on the restoration site and cool spots as well. That means non-uniform composite curing. And what we want to do is offer the practitioner the ability to give their patients the most uniform and best possible cure that they can, and that's what VALO achieves.
Great. Well, that's a lot of information, so why don't we get right to the demo and see what VALO can do? The first demo is going to showcase the way that VALO provides enhanced access in the mouth.
So here we have a competing wand, or competing curing light, and the real problem here is that you're using this fiberglass light guide, and they're typically at a 45-degree angle. Well, when a practitioner goes to place that in the posterior of the mouth, it's very hard to keep it parallel to that curing surface, especially on that distal buccal number 2. You're having to stretch that mouth really wide to get it back there. It's very uncomfortable for the patient. Now, if we use VALO, then it's very easy. Because of its wand shape, it's very easy to put in the mouth. You're not having to stretch that patient's mouth as hard to get that into the posterior.
The next demo we're going to see is going to address light dispersion. So Mark, why don't you explain a little bit what we're going to see here?
What we're going to demonstrate here is how dispersion affects the restoration when it's in vivo, in the mouth, right? What happens with most lights is that the amount of curing power that a practitioner thinks is reaching the actual restoration is not reaching the restoration because that light disperses so unevenly. There isn't a lot of collimation. With VALO, that's not the case. You can see very easily that the column that comes out of VALO, because of its refined optics and its custom LED pack, is very collimated.
Great. So Mark, explain to me what we're going to see in this demo.
In this demonstration, we're talking about the types of photo initiators that dental materials have. Some fall into the proprietary range, some fall into the non-proprietary or camphor-quinone. In the proprietary range is usually at the 400, 405 wavelength. And here we have a light, competing light. We're going to try and cure that to proprietary photo initiator. Well, there's no change in that disc. That means that it doesn't cure it. With VALO, we don't have that problem. It cures it very easily. So that's important for a practitioner to not have to worry about what curing light they're using, or in this case they're using VALO, so they don't have to worry about what composite they're curing. VALO is going to cure all of it.
Great. So, for more information about VALO curing light and just general information on LED curing in general, you can visit dentalproductsreport.com.